Let me preface this video by saying that DeviantArt can be a wonderful place to not only let your art be seen by the world, but to hone your skills through feedback from the community. Not to mention the community itself is host to a plethora of talented photographers and writers. However, unfortunately, nowadays, when a good amount of people think of DeviantArt, their minds always go to certain, let's just say, vocal individuals. Individuals who, through their absolutely heinous actions, have practically become infamous across the internet in general. And I'm sure you're wondering, just how bad could these people be in a community like DeviantArt? Well, there's only one way to find out. Hello everyone, this is the RPG Monger, and welcome to a new series I want to try out, called Internet Dumpster Diving. The series where we collectively dive into some of the worst garbage that the internet has to offer. And oh boy, do we have some absolute trash in front of us today. The one thing worth noting before we get on with it, even though just about all of these accounts that I'm about to talk about have been deleted, please don't scour the internet in an attempt to harass the people involved. Honestly, it'll only continue that endless cycle of hate that seemingly surrounds these cases. But anyways, I've said what I needed to say. Let's start off on the lighter side of things with a user who goes by the handle Toon-E-Guy, who at a glance really doesn't look so bad at all. He just seems like a retro Disney fan who loves hand-drawn animation, and if that really were all he was, then he'd be a fine person. But instead of getting his point across through well-thought-out arguments and debates, it appears this guy chose a more obsessive route. When he's not harassing just about anyone who says they liked a Disney CGI animated movie, like these for example, he's also harassing creators who simply use 3D animation rather than 2D. And that's not only on DeviantArt either. Just one look at his Twitter account, if he hasn't blocked you already, shows just how obsessed this man is. I mean really, can you get a more perfect example of an elitist? While there is of course nothing wrong with preferring older cartoons and animated movies, this is really taking it to the extremes. Honestly, it's just depressing to look at the desperate lengths this nobody has gone to, in his words, save 2D animation. With failed petitions and countless death threats, this obsessive troll puts a bad name on all sane fans of 2D animation. Hopefully one day he realizes the errors in his ways. Now, moving on from that idiot, I like to call this section of the video the art theft saga, because it's just surprising how all these separate cases are so alike. You may have been wondering why I spent so little time on certain choice OC creators in my Sonic fandom files, and well, to be honest, I was saving them for this moment exactly. All originating on DeviantArt, truth-lely-gaia and Princess Elizabeth 13 are definitely some of the more infamous within the community for just how delusional they could get. And while there are quite a few others to choose from, I'm not kidding when I say all of their bad actions practically mirror one another. Take truth-lely-gaia, an artist who, unlike Princess Elizabeth 13, wasn't nearly as aggressive and quick to spout random insults at the mention of criticism. However, on the flip side, she did something equally, if not worse in some ways. They committed a lot of art theft, and I mean a lot, with a ton of their work being pretty obviously traced from artists like Slugbox. And while just committing art theft on its own is pretty awful, truth-lely-gaia took it one step further by actually profiting off of it. The most ironic thing is, when the girl didn't blatantly trace her art, it wasn't even half bad. But then, there's Princess Elizabeth 13, someone who I'll be using to represent the great multitude of people out there just like her. Like truth-lely-gaia, Princess Elizabeth 13 definitely did not take the most original route. Though what sets her apart from many people who start out with obviously traced Mary Sue's is, well, she wasn't exactly the most open to even the lightest of criticisms. No matter how nicely it was worded, she'd attack anyone and everyone who offered even the littlest bit of advice. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. While she did make her fair share of crappy recolors and Mary Sue's, that isn't really what made Princess Elizabeth 13 infamous across multiple sites. Rather, it was her downright absurd absurd behavior of attacking half of everyone she met for reasons as idiotic as the fact that someone had made fan art of her characters. Plus, her rampant homophobia didn't do much to better her case either. To summarize Princess Elizabeth XIII, she's kind of like a Kai Dahlia, except with way less creativity. Though thankfully, with both of these cases being in the past now, hopefully these people have now matured and become normal, respectable people. Well, alright, looks like we have only one person left to talk about. Everyone, I give you quite possibly the most irredeemable person in this entire video. I give you Tori the Wolfie, a person who has seemingly been harassing people ever since they created their very first account on DeviantArt to begin with. And while I will be calling them by Tori the Wolfie, their very first handle on the site, keep in mind that with this person having made over 100 accounts, due to them constantly evading bans, it would actually take half the length of this video to list them all. But what is it that has earned Tori the Wolfie the golden medal of the absolute worst person on DeviantArt? Well, honestly, it's more like what hasn't this garbage person done? But to start off from the very beginning, Tori was the actual embodiment of a bark with no bite, flinging around death threats and petty insults just like they were candy. I mean, just looking at the kinds of things that they'd say, you'd really think they were bullshitting it all. Like, seriously, look at this crap.
You will get hacked again. I will kill you. Remember, you are a rat. You deserve no life. Snitches get shot.
And it only gets dumber from here on out.
Also, is a racist Republican. She also posts hate speech about Muslims. P.S. Digimon is better than Pokemon, everyone. How is this kid real?
Well, as funny as Tori's erratic rages can be, they prove to become much worse than some obnoxious idiot given access to the internet. Now it's June 2016, and a user called the Fandom Menace has created a petition on the site to put fetish artwork in a mature filter. A petition that over time proved to be quite the success, gaining over 1,000 signatures. However, with that kind of traction, things began to get a bit out of hand. Enter Tori, who, surprise surprise, wasn't exactly the fondest of the petition. So in response, what exactly do you think they did? Did they A. write well thought out arguments against the petition, B. make a petition against the petition, or C. harass the Fandom Menace with massive amounts of fetish porn? When picking your answer, keep in mind that Tori is not a reasonable person like you and me. Tori is in fact a rare breed of scum human, only born once every decade to spread filth everywhere they go. So with that in mind, as I'm sure you may have guessed, the correct answer is C. The worst thing is, it doesn't stop there. On top of sending things so disgusting that I don't even want to show you guys a censored version of it, and to be honest, I don't want to save that crap onto my hard drive, the guy also went into pretty illegal territory by falsely copyright claiming a bunch of the Fandom Menace's videos, all because of a single petition. The sad thing is, this crap is light compared to what Tori would end up doing later on. Similarly to the situation with the Fandom Menace, not too much later, they'd found a new person to harass. This time, a decently sized YouTube channel by the name Deviant Cringe. Now, while I don't know what specifically caused Tori to do this, the fact that they did it at all is just ridiculous. Instead of just hitting the channel with false copyright strikes like last time, Tori just straight up hacked the channel and took it down completely, putting this guy's actual livelihood in danger. Seriously, what an immature lowlife. So a couple failed attempts at trolling users on DeviantArt later, we have quite possibly not only the worst thing Tori ever does in his dreadful time on the internet, but one of the most despicable things I've ever talked about on this channel in general. One day, for some unknown reason, Tori decided to invite their fans onto a Google Hangouts conversation. And when it first started, it was a pretty standard deal. That is, until Tori turned the webcam on and started performing sexual acts on camera. And if that wasn't bad enough, the scumfuck even went on to commit bestiality with their dog on camera. Something that is both horrifying and utterly despicable. How anyone is capable of doing such egregious acts is just beyond me. Tori the Wolfie, you are trash. The internet would be a better place if you just weren't on it. Thankfully though, these are just a few people. As I've already stated, most of DeviantArt is exactly what you'd expect. Art. Most of the bad people mentioned and those like them won't really cause you trouble if you don't interact with them. And with scumbags like Tori, here's a little word of wisdom from someone who's been dealing with this garbage for years. Trolls will and do inhabit just about every site out there. The more people who actually engage with them, the more motivation they have to stick around. So point blank, if you're gonna take anything from this video, please never act like these people have. In the end, the only one you'll end up hurting in the long run is yourself. And before I head onto my outro, considering this is the very first episode of Internet Dumpster Diving, do tell me how you liked it, whether in the comments or in the poll I've set up in the iCard. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, do subscribe and hit that bell button. And you know, maybe dropping a like on this video wouldn't really hurt either. But that aside, today's cool thing of the day is the 3rd season of My Hero Academia. Maybe it's because I haven't been watching too much anime lately, but this really just snuck up on me. If you haven't seen the previous 2 seasons, I highly recommend it. It's a great shonen and quite the enjoyable superhero show. So that being said, I'm the RPG Monger, and don't forget that each and every one of you are fantastic.